Rachel from Tower of God is the perfect example of an underpowered villain done right. When we're following Tower of God and looking at Bomb's journey as he develops from this man to God while he reshapes the culture of the tower, Rachel is always in the background, living in a shadow and attempting to eclipse his shine. She's this absolutely detestable existence. No one likes Rachel. Everyone pretty much hates her, and we all wish that she would just jump off a bridge, possibly even drink bleach no Ichigo, and all in all, the world would be a better place without her, well, in it. But despite my Goku-level disdain for Rachel, that breaks the barrier of the space-time continuum. Something that I will always admit is that she's a 10 out of 10 character. Like the fact that Siu, the author of Tower of God, can make you feel these intense emotions for a simple troglodyte just goes to show the depth of her writing. And that's because that Rachel has been written to be the direct opposite of Bomb in practically every way. If Bomb is a star and a guiding light bringing a new dawn to the tower system, then Rachel is the Dark Knight, a representation of every injustice that's prevalent within the tower. If she chooses to do so, she will step on others to ascend to higher levels. She will cheat and manipulate her environment to achieve her objectives. If she doesn't have the power to fight back, she will use people to fight her battles. If she doesn't have her own something, she will steal and destroy that possession so no one else can have it. Rachel is a selfish person, a greedy character that dreams to be the center of attention, a shining star, and a walking contradiction. She's Icarus with her wings made of wax, and she sacrifices her humanity to climb up the tower. That's who Rachel is. And now, when we first enter the tower through Bomb's perspective, this illusion of Rachel is this bright star, a warm, kind, and nurturing person who became the foundation of Bomb's belief system. Rachel taught Bomb everything. She gave birth to his moral compass, and the many reasons why Bomb is such a compassionate character is because of the many lessons that Rachel instilled within him. That's why her behaviors and mindset as she ventures up the tower is not only extremely disturbing, but also strangely suspicious. We don't really know why she was so eager to separate herself from Bomb, why she continued to reject him at every turn, and what is her driving force behind her fascination with the stars. The one thing we do know about Rachel is that while she simultaneously wished for a glittering and endless night sky, she also desired to become a star herself. Bomb is the representation of the typical hero, a person who brings revolution and change while inspiring those around him to become a better version of themselves. In contrast, Rachel is and always was a normal person. There's nothing remotely special about who Rachel is. We see her ugliness clear as day, and when she struggles in pursuit of her objectives, we don't want her to win, we want her to lose. And in a very strange way, this type of writing makes Rachel an extremely relatable character. As much as we don't want to admit it, Rachel symbolizes the worst parts about ourselves, while Bomb is the ideal image in our minds that we are constantly chasing after. Now, I think a lot of what I said so far is pretty clear. The Bomb and Rachel dynamic, her nature and opposition in the story, and her supernatural hatred that lives rent-free in my head. But maybe that's just me. But why is this so important? Why do these things matter in the first place? Well, to understand Rachel's development, both with her power and her overall mental downfall, we first need to understand the building blocks that set everything up, starting with the part she played in Bomb's tragedy. In the current episode of the anime at the time of this recording, Rachel has once again steered her ugly head, riding off the coattails of her betrayal to Bomb 6 years ago. Now, Rachel was essentially this pawn in this massive plot to organize Bomb as the next Slayer candidate for Fug due to his existence as an irregular. Rachel was goaded or propositioned into pushing Bomb off to his death so she could effectively take his place and ascertain his starlight. It's pretty funny though, because without her even realizing it, Rachel was played like a fiddle. Another reminder that regardless of her efforts, they're all just cheap ploys in their grander schemes. But you see, Jahad has this implicit rule that defines the destruction of any and all irregulars that enter his tower, because their existence is the only thing that can bypass his immortality contract. And since Bomb's identity was revealed as an irregular, Fug, the anti-Jahad faction that wants to slay Jahad, had to basically fake his death, rebranding him as the Slayer candidate, Jovial Grace. The point is that Rachel went through all these means and methods, hurting herself and Bomb in the process, and it was all meaningless. Because try as she might, the more she attempts to become the main character, cold hard reality will keep her grounded time and time again. But after what she did to Bomb, that was her mental tipping point. It's the point of her no return, and she completely changes into this horrid monster monster. Once she crossed that line, she was effectively doomed, forced to walk down this road to hell as she continues to commit even more awful acts with her bloodstained hands. While Bomb changes the tower, Rachel is changed by the tower's influence. And on a grander scale, Rachel's rabbit hole is a microcosm of what happens to the average regular that dreams of climbing to the top of the tower. They lose themselves in the process. But anyways, we get to this current point in the anime where she is living a lie and Kun can see through her transparent image. He understands her nature. He's never once trusted her, and he's been making his moves in the background to recruit a party of people under his supervision so he can prepare to double-cross her. Kun organizes this party to be a barrier of deception against Rachel, pretending to be her ally all while taking the necessary steps towards masterminding her downfall. But Rachel isn't that naive, and she's always been playing the long game. Just as Kun has been playing his part, so has Rachel. And under her clear deceptions, she's even been able to affiliate herself with a faction of Thug, which we'll get into a bit later in this video. But while Kun was gathering allies to spy on Rachel, she was doing the exact same thing. Just as Kun saw through Rachel, she could see through him, and perhaps as an expert liar, she could just envision the betrayal that was coming a mile away. Now, one particular individual that Kun adds to his party is a scout by the name of Dawn, who is currently regarded as the fastest E-rank regular. And when Rachel first meets him, she plays off this innocent act, hoping to gain his trust and sympathy, while also displaying a clear interest in his powers, wishing that she could have the same legs as him. So inevitably, when the day of reckoning comes to pass, Rachel turns her attention towards Kun just like she did with Bomb and orchestrates a plot to eliminate him and the loyal members of his team. But with Dawn being a new addition, Rachel thinks that she can reach out to him as another one of her extremities to help her climb the tower. However, she is sorely mistaken, because Dawn sees Rachel for the traitor that she is, kicking her supposed friends to the curb not once but twice, just so she could ascend to a higher level. So he flat out rejects her, and this causes Rachel to crash out. She attacks a defenseless Dawn, destroys the very legs that allowed him to become the speedster that he is, because if she can't have his power, then no one can. And she does this while claiming and living in the delusion that she did nothing wrong. She believes that she's innocent, and it's the world that's out to get her. This is the mindset of Rachel, living in constant denial, refusing to face the music of the atrocities that she has committed, and there's many more to come in the future, and it just speaks to the guilt that is continuously haunting her. It's a point that will be touched on later within Tower of God. The overall downfall of Rachel, and to be honest, is the only part about her character that I even feel some level of sadness, which is borderline Insano style considering I'm like a Division 1 hater, like I'm on some Dio level energy when it comes to Rachel. Like yeah, it's pretty obvious, the consequences of Rachel's actions are her fault and her fault alone. She's exceedingly insecure with herself. She understands her limitations and flaws, and she's completely imperfect in every significant way. It's her inherent greed that makes her desire everything that she doesn't have. She can't treasure a single thing in her life. She takes everything for granted, and at her core, she's a die-hard pessimist. But despite her being a clear perpetrator, there's an argument that she's a victim of the tower system, just like every other person who's climbing the tower by similar means. Because yes, Rachel is horrible, but her actions are a representation of the average regular. Betrayal, treachery, and death are all byproducts of Jahad's tower. This ideal of climbing up with your friends is a fantasy that only the strong can justify, but for those who lack power, they will do anything and everything to win. And tragically, Rachel was absorbed by this evil, and as she continues on, it consumes every fiber of her being, living with the wounds of her many transgressions. Now, the issue is that Rachel is always carrying on this victim mentality, and she fails to take accountability for her actions. So while you can feel bad for her to an extent, it doesn't change the fact that she knows what she's doing is wrong, but she still does it. She rejects Bomb for a second time, she almost kills Kun, and there's plenty of more sacrifices on her list of betrayal. She really only cares about herself and no one else. Rachel is by all accounts a master manipulator, and while she's kind of an amateur considering she's just a lowly regular climbing the tower, she at the very least understands what type of influence she has past as an irregular, including the many taboos that were erased from history. She has deep connections to ancestral figures in the tower, who not only want to protect her, but also assist her in her adventures. She's rewarded for her betrayals, which is how she's able to navigate herself in FUG, align herself with many powerful players, and build a party that can act as both her sword and her shield. Even though she's pretty useless, even though she's canonically the weakest irregular, she knows how to roll the dice and play the game, and that's a pretty strong asset. As Bomb grinds and struggles for his power, in his pursuit to protect others and his friends, Rachel gets handout after handout, all while envying what she doesn't have. For example, you have someone like an actual family leader, Bobadao Gustang, give Rachel the treasure-eating stingray, which is an invisible entity that protects her at will as if it were Gara's sand. And then later on, he even allows her to board his battleship, have free reign to do whatever she wants and live in luxury, and no one knows exactly why he did this. That's not mentioning her AI intel device Emily, that basically allows her to generate any and all forms of information that's readily available at her disposal. Rachel is just this total anomaly. She's not a regular because she wasn't chosen by the tower or lived within its walls, and although she's technically an irregular, she never opened the doors to the tower herself. That's what Bomb did. Rachel is just an outlier, a person who's fighting to defy her fate, the person who wasn't chosen, and it's that desperation to become the main character that drives her to madness. It's why she hates Bomb, it's why their dynamics push each other forward as perfect foils, and for every reason why Bomb is overpowered, Rachel is underpowered. Bomb always puts others above himself, while Rachel only thinks about herself. Bomb is physically gifted and is a prodigy at controlling Shinsu, while Rachel is no different from a regular person. Bomb is this social magnet who can be friends with practically anybody, and Rachel is socially awkward and can hardly make genuine bonds with other people. Now, I do believe that regardless of everything that Rachel has done or will do in the future, there is always going to be regret in the way that she moves. She claims that she hates Bomb, but it's her own useless and pitiful self that she really harbors anger for, and she's simply projecting her insecurities onto everyone else. But as time goes on, the seeds of trauma will start to bear fruit, showing the remorse that she's actually hiding deep inside. Rachel regrets her existence. She loathes the person she's become, who turned her back on her friends and loved ones, all so she could climb the tower. And if she eventually gets to the top by stepping on the backs of others, she won't be happy. All she will feel is crushing loneliness and deep emptiness.